Hello there everyone, this is Miriam, holistic life coach and mind body practitioner at Pain Outside the Box, and today I'm going to be discussing how not to give negative attention to your chronic pain or symptoms. So, as some of you might know, chronic mind body pain feeds off your negative perception of it. So the more negative attention we give to a symptom, let's say the more negative attention I give to a pain I get in my shoulder, the likely it is for that pain to persist. And that's because when we give negative attention in the form of worrying thoughts about the symptom, in the form of wondering what it could be, in the form of wondering whether we're ever gonna get rid of it, when we do this, what we're doing is we're sending a danger signal to the brain. So the brain is learning to interpret that symptom as threatening, as dangerous. And when there is a threat, the brain is more likely to keep reproducing pain. And besides that, the more attention we give to a part of the body, the more we strengthen the neural connections between that part of the body and the brain. So the brain is more likely to keep remembering how the pain feels like and will more likely be able to keep generating it in the future. So this is a process which happens in chronic pain patients, whereby if their pain started off as a real injury, if they start giving it a lot of worrying thoughts and the negative attention, the brain can learn to keep reproducing the same painful sensation in the area, because there's like a pathway that is strengthened over time the more attention we give to that pain. So I know that these days there are plenty of techniques to encourage you not to ignore your pain and that encourage you to observe your symptoms, okay? So things like somatic tracking, other somatic techniques, other pain reprocessing meditations. So there are techniques these days that can help you work with the pain and get you to observe the pain and maybe transmute the way that you perceive it. And I'm not at all against these techniques. So the only thing that I would like to alert you to is that if you are using any of these techniques involving attention on a painful or uncomfortable area of the body, and you feel that you are giving negative attention still, so for example, if you're doing a somatic tracking exercise and you find that you cannot think in a neutral or even positive way about your symptom, that means that you are still giving negative attention to the symptom. And in that case, I would alert you to stop that technique for the moment because it's working against you. Because as I said, if you are still stuck in that negative frame of mind towards the symptom, then that's more likely to make it persist. So that aside, by the way, somatic tracking can be a great tool if you learn how to use it well, and I have also a separate video on that. But putting that aside, now I'd like to share a few tips on how you can reduce your preoccupation towards symptoms. So when people ask me, what's the best tip I can give them to get rid of chronic pain and symptoms fast, I always say reduce your preoccupation with it, okay? And that means reducing your hypervigilance. So what is hypervigilance? Hypervigilance is when we tend to get extra attentive or even obsessed with our symptoms. So it involves behaviors and habits like waking up in the morning and thinking about your symptom first thing, comparing it maybe to how it felt the day before or the month before, constantly checking in with your symptom now and then. So for example, let's say you have pain in your shoulder, you will be constantly moving it this way and that to test for the pain, to see how it is, to see if it's better. Okay, that's hypervigilant. And also behaviors involving overprotection of the pain area, okay, trying to protect the pain area, using it differently in your day-to-day life. So that creates negative attention. It's a form of negative attention on the symptoms, okay? And it keeps you stuck in this cycle, right, of interpreting your symptom as a huge problem. And as I said, in order to get rid of chronic pain faster, you need to start interpreting it as a smaller problem. So that's really the trick, which I know is easier said than done, especially if you wake up every day and the first thing you feel is your pain, right? I've been there, I know how that feels like, but that's exactly what you have to work with. So here are a few tips that I'd like to share. So if you tend to wake up in pain, or you tend to wake up and check in with your body, with the pain area, to see how it feels like, this is the first habit that you have to try and stop. So what I recommend to individuals is to basically wake up and do not linger as much as possible in bed. Do not linger with the pain. Okay, so let's say you need to go to the bathroom after you wake up. So just wake up and go to the bathroom. Or you feel like snuggling in bed, but if you notice your pain, redirect your attention to how comfortable it feels in bed and to another area of the body that feels really warm and comfortable, okay? So the trick is not to stay hooked with the symptom, not to stay focused on examining the symptom the first thing you wake up, okay? It's very important because that sets the tone for the rest of the day. If you wake up and immediately you start giving your symptoms negative attention, then it's going to be more difficult throughout the rest of the day to reduce that preoccupation. So very important. As soon as you wake up, think of what you need to do next. If you feel your pain, you can acknowledge it for a second, but then move on to noticing or doing something else. Okay. Throughout your day, let's say you get a twinge of pain, okay? Or you start noticing that the pain is intensifying. Acknowledge it. You can acknowledge it for a few seconds, also with a little curiosity, but pretend that you're leaving it there in the background. So if you notice yourself having these thoughts of like, oh, here it is again, or oh, it hasn't improved after all, maybe I'm never going to get rid of it, maybe there's something else that the doctors haven't found, you know how it goes. As soon as you catch yourself having these thoughts, say something like, stop, enough, and redirect your attention to whatever else you're doing. If you can do something that's distracting, all the better, okay? If you can break out into a dance, start a workout, even work on an intensive work project, all the better, because the important thing is that you reduce the preoccupation on that symptom, okay? It's not to ignore it because you know it's there. So this is why I say acknowledge it, even say hi to it if you like. But then pretend that you're leaving it hanging there in the background. It's as if you have an unfortunate dog that you don't like. He's hanging around with you, following you everywhere, but you're so busy, you just decide to leave him just there by your feet, and that's it. Okay, so that's another tip I have for you. The other tip is movement. So we tend to give negative attention to our pain area through our movements. So by moving it in a specific way to protect the area, or else by trying to test how it feels like. So let's say you have pain in the elbow, and when you straighten it, then some people would tend to keep straightening it during the day just to test how it feels like, and then they would feel the pain, and they would then they would feel this like disappointment or frustration. Oh yeah, it's still there. Okay, so the more they do this and they notice that the pain is still there, okay, the more negative attention and negative emotion they are generating. So my tip would be to just let it be there. Use your body as normally as you can for as long as you're not in extreme pain, okay? So this tip applies more to those people who have chronic pain, but who can usually still function okay, okay? So use your body as normally as you can without forcing it in specific positions that hurt, okay? If you do so, you might find out one day that the pain will have reduced, and then you can try and move your body into that position. okay, or that movement. But do not force it while you're still in pain, because that risks creating more hypervigilance and negative tension. So basically, that's it, really. One final thing is to think of your symptoms not as something to fix, okay, because then obviously we're going to give them negative attention, but as symptoms that can be allowed to resolve on their own. So by not giving them negative attention, you are more likely to release the tension or whatever else is happening in the area. Okay, so it's more of a release of tension. It's more of allowing the body to be okay rather than trying to fix it. And this is why I need to alert once again to these other mind-body tools that involve a lot of focus on the body. Because even though in themselves they might be great tools, so let's say stretching, for example, if you're stretching and giving your pain negative attention, if you're stretching and thinking, oh, it's still here, I really wish it wasn't here, I wonder if I'll ever get rid of it, that is a form of negative attention, and it's more likely to make your pain persist. It's better to just keep your pain there in the background, okay, like a dog that's following you around and that you can tolerate, okay? And by the way, I would never do that to a dog because I love dogs, but so I'm not sure if I gave the right analogy, but I guess you got the point. Okay, that's it from me for today. I wish you all a lovely week ahead. Bye-bye.